Nick used to be on staff with us. He still pops in and does when he's lonely at his now corporate job. He pops into the church just to have a coffee with us. But one of the things that Nick has taught us is the importance of introducing somebody well. Because when you introduce somebody well, people who don't know them have a chance to receive the gift that they are. And so now it's a good moment for an Uno reverse card where I get to do the introducing. And seriously, it's just like I think sometimes, and this is just the human nature, we don't realize, and everybody is this, just to be clear, like the gifts that are sitting among us. And not because it's a big deal, but like Nick, how many years ago, 30 years ago, felt called to the UK? How many years? 30, is that too long? 26, when he was 10. He felt called to the UK. And he went across there, and in a couple of years, they were part of a church there. They ended up planting out of that church and sort of like leading a site from that church. Then they felt God called them back to South Africa. They came back to South Africa, what was that, 4 years ago or so? And Nick and Amber and his 3 kids, Erin, Josh, and Ethan, have just been such a blessing to this community. And so, it's like I wish I could. I'm trying to say, like, guys, this morning is such a gift to us as a community. And I know even just for Tan and I, it's like, I mean, I'm not that young, but I feel as if I'm like 20. But like, it's actually quite scary coming into ministry because you're so aware of like your fallible humanness. And I just remember thinking, like, I'm not cut out for this task. And honestly, Nick, I don't think I would have stepped into it if it wasn't for you and Amber. Because you were just so encouraging to us. And it's quite a profound thing when you're in a thing where like there's somebody who can do something better than you, at the drop of a hat, has more experience in it, is so much more talented, so much more gifted than you, and they come to you and you say like, Luke, you must do this thing. And so I just want to thank you and Amber for that, Nick. I was thinking like during worship, just like, what is it about you guys that is so lovely? And I think like, if you know me, I'm completely safety averse. And yet everything about you wants to still feel safe. So in other words, like you can do something that's not at all risky, but you feel uncertain in it, then it's not nice. You can do something that's absolutely crazy, but if you feel safe in it, you're good. And there's something about like whenever I'm in a room and I just see Nick and Amber there, I'm like, I feel so safe. And so I think you've made the Rock an incredibly safe congregation by what you guys have brought to us. And so we just want to say thank you and bless you guys. Amen.
What do you do after that, eh? What are you talking about? Crumbs. No, it's very kind words, Luke. The Rock, people say, how do you choose a church? And, and when we came back to Durban North after so many years, I mean, Durban North is not exactly starved for really great churches. And I was in a place where I was on my dusty road, which I'll explain in a moment, but I was in a place where I really didn't care. And I don't mean that callously. I just didn't care. I wasn't looking for the right worship, the right preaching. I just knew God would place us. I actually just wanted to be a friend to somebody. And and so we through circumstance or chance, we stumbled into the Rock. I ended up running the workspace downstairs, Mark, and so, created that space for me to cut my teeth in Durban. And then some people said, why did you join the Rock? And I just said, well, the Rock kind of chose us. We almost didn't choose the Rock. And that kind of happens in life sometimes. God opens doors that you don't see or don't expect, and then you end up finding yourself going through a door, and it's like, oh, the Rock was one of those doors that just sort of chose us. And so those are very kind words, Luke. And it means a lot. And how you introduce someone, it's not about me now, this podcast, but it just helps them to be received. So think about how you introduce colleagues at work or family members. Like, this is so-and-so, he's head of HR. No, this is so-and-so, he's got a couple of kids, and this is what he adds to us. Think about how you introduce people. Anyway, that's a complete aside. I woke up this morning, and I suddenly got sort of cold feet around this So several months ago, I began looking at this passage of Scripture, or should I say, like re-looking at it, because I've read it dozens of times, and then I thought, this is such gold in here. And so I've been mulling this over for months, and then I woke up this morning and I thought, last night I started writing it down. I thought, okay, let's just put this into some shape. And then I woke up this morning, I thought, hey, is this just like for me? Is this just my little thing here? I feel a bit vulnerable now. I don't know if this is for everybody, but the gun has been fired and here we are. So we're diving into it, for better or worse. So I don't actually normally get nervous and stuff, but I feel a bit nervous this morning, probably because I haven't done this in a while. I think it was more than a year ago since I preached, which feels like forever. There's so many, I just glancing around the room, there's some awesome fierce mums in the room this morning, eh? Yeah, there's some lionesses in this room. It's actually cool. I got to speak to a couple of mums at the family weekend, the church camp last week, and I went away thinking, man, don't mess with a mother. Don't mess with a mum. Like, there are some fierce lionesses. It's actually a wonderful thing. So mums, happy Mother's Day. Amber's actually seeing her mum in Howick today. So we decided we would sort of divide and conquer. But mums, happy Mother's Day. It's a beautiful thing. Being a mum is a powerful, powerful thing. You literally shape a generation in ways that mostly people don't recognize or necessarily see. We're going to speak this morning from Luke chapter 24. And I don't really have like a cool hook to get your attention. Like, I think that's what I woke up this morning. I thought, I'm just jumping in there. I don't really know. Okay, let's go. So we're going to read Luke chapter 24 from verse 13. It may or may not pop up on this cool screen. That doesn't really matter. This is going to be a distraction, I can tell. Now, here we go. So just the context of where we are. It's Resurrection Day. It's the day Jesus comes out of the tomb. It's a big deal. And so Luke begins his chapter. He says, on the first day of the week. And then we hear about the sightings at the empty tomb. And anyway, we fast forward probably a few hours, and it says this. Now, on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. Nobody quite knows where Emmaus is today. It's actually quite uncertain. So, typical archaeologists and historians fight about where it was. But it seems like the word Emmaus means warm baths or warm springs, and that's as much as we kind of know about it. Anyway, while they were walking, they were talking with each other about everything that had happened. And as they talked and discussed these things with each other, Jesus himself came up and walked along with them, but they were kept from recognizing him. They were kept from recognizing him, maybe because his resurrection sort of physical state was particularly different, but I think there's more to it, which we'll see a little bit later. Where are we? He asked them, what are you discussing together as you walk along? I have to just confess, I think at 48 I might be getting to the time for glasses because I'm actually struggling a little. I've held on for so long, but it's starting. Every now and again I'm starting to think, hey, what does that say? Sorry, I'm distracting you now. Right, what are you talking about? What are you discussing together as you walk along? They stood still, their faces downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, asked him, are you the only one visiting Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened in these days? There was quite a lot of irony here because Jesus was actually the only one who really did know what was happening in those days. And he says, what things? About Jesus of Nazareth, they replied. He was a prophet, powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. The chief priests and our rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death, and they crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one who was going to redeem Israel. And what's more, it's the third day since all of this took place. In addition, some of our women amazed us. I mean, Luke says earlier on they just didn't believe the women. They said, you're talking nonsense. Some of our women amazed us. They went to the tomb early in the morning, but didn't find his body. They came and told us that they had seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Then some of our companions went to the tomb and found it just as the woman had said, but they didn't see Jesus. So the women were right, but they weren't totally sure. He said to them, How foolish you are and slow to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Did not the Messiah have to suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. The smart people who understand language say that's Jesus, probably one of Jesus' strongest corrections and rebukes or firmest words to anyone. How foolish you are, you know. Probably said with a smile, but wake up. As they approached the village to which they were going, Jesus continued on as if he was going further. But they urged him strongly, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening, the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, gave thanks, broke it, and began to give it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. They asked each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he talked with us on the road and opened the scriptures to us?" They got up and returned to Jerusalem at once, at night. There they found the 11 and those with them assembled together and saying, "It's true, the Lord has risen and has appeared to Simon." Then the two told what had happened on the way and how Jesus was recognized by them when he broke the bread. What an amazing, beautiful little story, hey? Just tucked right there towards the end of Luke's gospel. This morning, we're going to walk through this little journey together. And I'm inviting each of you to insert yourself into the story as we go. And just begin to immerse yourself into that event. Because if you don't, what could happen is you could sit back and be a little analytical and observant, and then I'll distract you with my idiosyncrasies or my imperfect delivery or preparation. And then what could happen is you could end up sitting here and thinking, well, that was a good or it wasn't a good preach. And you kind of miss the opportunity to meet Jesus, which is the whole purpose of this text. So if you can, just begin to immerse your sanctified imagination into the story as we begin to go with it. Luke actually makes this easy for us because these two followers of Jesus, these two disciples are, in many ways, they are nobodies. They're not part of the 12. They're not spiritual giants. They're not superheroes. They're not the kind of rock stars of the early church. We find out one of them is called Cleopas, and some people suggest it might have actually been a married couple, but there's no conclusion on that. But we never hear about them again. They're never referenced again. They don't show up in any of the later writings. They are just part of the crowd. They're ordinary people. They are you and they're me. And so it's easy for us to relate to them. Equally, where they're going, because nobody quite knows where Emmaus is exactly, it means they could be going anywhere, just like you and just like me. So let's start down that 7-mile road together. That same day, 2 of them were going to a village called Emmaus. Why are they walking away from Jerusalem on this day of all days? I mean, there's reports of this risen Jesus, an empty tomb. Stuff looks like, it's about to kick off, and they are leaving. They're walking away. Why would they do that? Because these two are crushed, defeated, disillusioned people. They are highly disappointed. It just hasn't worked. Isn't that interesting? Their hopes are dashed. Their extraordinary rabbi, who seemed to be the one who everyone believed was the promised one to come, had been crucified, and a dead guy on a Roman cross is quite a final picture. Over. The faith dream is dashed. All the things that they had thought their life would look like, the life of their family, the life of their community, finished because there's a man nailed to a cross, and there's an empty tomb, and nobody quite knows what's going on, but these guys are pretty broken. And so they head away from the source of pain, Jerusalem, and they just move to the source of comfort, the warm bars, or the warm springs, if you like, of Emmaus. Have you ever felt like that in your life? Maybe at different times of your life? I just can't sit in this. I just need comfort. I just need to get away. I need to walk away. Whether that walk away is a physical walk or an internal walk, I'm walking away from all of this. I don't know where God is. Let's start walking. So Jesus comes up and he walks alongside them, but they kept from recognizing him. Think about this for a moment. This is an amazing thought. When Jesus came out of the tomb, it's the start of the new creation. This is a big deal in the history of the cosmos, guys. You know, Luke didn't use the words by accident at the start of his chapter when he said, on the first day. He's deliberately getting the reader's attention to think about the first day, Genesis. This is Genesis 2.0. This is the start of something new, and the devil is quaking in his boots. There's a movement that's about to explode onto the world. Jesus is about to release something that is unstoppable and has been unstoppable ever since. And where is Jesus found? On that most important day in history, he's found on a dusty road with some disillusioned, broken, disappointed, maybe angry, anguished people walking far away from where they should be. And that's where Jesus is found. So what about you? Where is Jesus found right now? Maybe you're in the darkest of places you've ever been. You know what? Jesus is there. Just read Psalm 139. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I make my bed in the depths, guess what? You are there. If I settle on the far side of the sea, you find me. If I'm in the heights, you name it, he will find us. There's not a place we can go. Yeah, sure, physically, but inside of our hearts where Jesus is not going to show up, he's not going to turn up, and he's not going to walk alongside you, however the dusty the road, however disillusioned you may be. That's a cool thought. Of all the most important things Jesus might be doing on that day, he's on a road walking away from Jerusalem. Isn't that amazing? Doesn't that give you a little like, oh wow, which means that maybe he's walking with you if you're on that road, which means that maybe you may not recognize him, but he's walking with you. Just because it is who he is who he says he is. It's amazing, eh? If you consider your life right now, maybe take a moment, you can close your eyes if you want to, just consider your life right now, or maybe your story up to this point, and what you're going through. What is your direction of travel? Which direction are you traveling in? Are you able to recognize him? What questions are you asking of him? Think about that for a moment. Who does God want to be for you right now? It carries on. Jesus says, what are you discussing together as you walk along? Picture the scene. You can imagine it. They just stop. Their heads drop. And you can picture it like, where have you been? Are you the only guy in Jerusalem at Passover who's had his head in the sand? Are you not aware of the things that have been taking place? Where have you been? So Jesus says, what things? Now, I don't think he's saying that to be playful or for effect, because he knows what things. It's not accidental. He's not like playing dumb. Have you ever noticed Jesus asks you great questions before he gives slick answers? You notice that if you watch through the Gospels, he's always asking a question. And we're saying, give me the answer. And he's asking all the questions. Just tell me what I need. I'm going to ask you the questions. Why do you think he does that? Have you ever thought about that? Asks brilliant, and frustrating questions. Because he knows what's going on inside of us, doesn't he? He already knows, so it's a weird thing. Remember the blind guy outside Jericho, and he's shouting, he just hears Jesus coming, Son of David, have mercy on me. You remember that story? And Jesus walks up to him, and he says, what would you like me to do for you? You know what I mean? Like, what? And then I want to see. I'd like to see. It's amazing he asks questions. I wonder why he does that. I think it's very, very intentional. He's not asking because he needs to know. He's asking because he needs us to know exactly what we're asking. He wants us to be able to state what we are asking. Have you ever spoken to someone and they're like, oh, don't you know? Okay, listen, spouses are probably the worst at this. Well, you should just know. No. You need to say it. You need to articulate it. He needs us to know exactly what is going on inside of us and to state it. Those two, they carry on, they pour out their hearts, and I reckon as they speak, it's filled with emotion, maybe some tears, there's anguish as they describe what's been going on. Maybe they get choked up, and maybe it comes with a sense of frustration at God because we had kind of hoped for something to go on. Maybe it's with a sense of feeling stupid at having such a crazy, outlandish dream, but you can picture the scene. But Jesus wants us to state it. He wanted them to say it. What things? Okay, well, this is what it is. And it comes out. He wants them to lament. You know that word lament? Do you know what a lament is? Some of us know what it is, especially if we're a little older. We know a bit more about lamenting, because that's the story of life on the dusty road, isn't it? In the Bible, it is a passionate prayer or song of grief, sorrow, or confusion brought directly to God as a vehicle for the healthy processing of pain. That's what a lament is. Laments are everywhere. I think some people say up to half the Psalms contain portions of lament. And they say hard things. Where are you, God? Why are you so far from me? Why is my soul so downcast? Are you ever going to rescue us? That's a lament. One psalm even ends like, darkness is my closest friend. That's a lament. That is a dark, dark lament. And they generally work like this. It starts with a complaint, then there's a kind of cry for help, and then there's an expression of trust, even right in the middle of an unchanged circumstance. Starts with a complaint, that's honest. God, where were you? Why did you not answer? And then it becomes, okay, help. And then, okay, I'm going to trust you even though I can't see. That's a lament. And it's so important. And why is a lament so important on our dusty road? Because of the way it helps us process pain and disappointment and confusion and loss. And in the processing of it in a healthy way, it ends up transforming it. There's a Franciscan friar called Richard Rohr, and he says, pain that is not transformed is transmitted. Pain that is not transformed is transmitted. It's almost like a law of nature. If the pain is not transformed, it will be transmitted to those downstream of your and my life. It's almost an inevitability. It's like a lament becomes the water filter that catches all the toxins and all the muck, and water passes through and it comes through clean water so that those downstream of our lives, those drinking from our lives, drink a cleaner, purer, more whole, healthy water. Pain that does not transform will be transmitted. It's quite a thought. But we had hoped that he was the one. We had hoped. Can you say we had hoped? That for me, I actually should have scribbled in my Bible right here. Did I? Yes, I actually did. I underlined it already. We had hoped. How would you finish that sentence today? I had hoped. Personalize it, insert yourself into the story. I had hoped that my kids and grandkids would grow up around me. I had hoped that that marriage would have worked. I had hoped that when the doctor's report came back, it would be clean, but it wasn't. I had hoped that God would have answered the prayer for the salvation of my kids. I had hoped. I had hoped that the business I poured myself into, that I kind of thought God was in, wouldn't have imploded, and I wouldn't have been ripped off by a business partner. I had hoped. I had hoped. I had hoped. We've all got them. I had hoped, ... You fill in your story. I had hoped by now I may just have found a husband or a wife. I had hoped that I would be able to have kids by now because my peers are having kids. I had hoped. We had hoped. What is your lament? Over the years, I've met some people and I'm not sure, they've been through tough things, and for some reason they seem to have taken a posture where they feel that by stating it, they're almost denying God or not, or bringing, like it sounds gloomy or down, and so somehow you need to maintain a kind of obligation to optimism. And I can tell you right now, every one of those people is doing violence to their souls. They are not allowing pain to transform them. All they're doing is hiding it and squashing it, because I can tell you, like toxin in the soil, water will leach through that and will poison downstream of our lives. That same Franciscan friar made this beautiful statement, a phrase here, which I found so arresting. He says, where does he say it? He said, like, make your wounds like a sacred wound so that you can have like sacred scars. If you don't make your wounds, and I'm saying it wrong, if you don't make your wounds sacred wounds, you'll have toxic scars. It's quite a thought. But you're not the only one with scars, because we sing of a Jesus who's got scars here and here and here and here, and in his side, maybe there's a few marks around his head. It's amazing. So let's make our wounds sacred wounds so that we don't have toxic scars. state your lament. And beginning with Moses and all the prophets concerning, Jesus explains everything that was said concerning himself. I reckon that was the coolest Bible study you've ever witnessed. If you had been an extra on that road, to hear Jesus himself take you through the whole Bible, see how everything points to him, that was a Bible study worth being part of. Amazing. Why do you think they couldn't recognize him now? What was going on there? Why couldn't they actually recognize him as he spoke to them? Any ideas? Just shout out so I can hear you. Why couldn't they? Okay, divine hide. What else? Emotions. Unbelief. Those are good. He hadn't dropped the scales from eyes. Can I ask just one person, Jono, if you don't mind, bud, I see my parents have arrived, but they think we meet at 9. Would you mind just sorry. I can just see them standing out there chatting to each other, trying to figure it out. Do you mind, Jono? Thank you. Sorry. No, I did. Listen, my dad's turning 85, okay? And he's an absolute legend, but I did tell him, and then I told him we're meeting at, anyway, total side swipe. I just saw them standing there, and I just saw them, I said this compassion right there. Anyway, bless them when you meet them. They're so delightful, beautiful people. Right, where was I? Shucks, guys. Okay, why couldn't they recognize him? Now, some of that's an obvious, easy one. Divine hide. Obviously, he was a little different, his resurrection body. But what about this? What if their faith had trained their eyes to see and recognize a Jesus that could only fit into the grid that they currently held? They couldn't see him. They couldn't see him. It's like he's dead. This is what our Messiah looks like, and this is what he does. Anything outside of that, I cannot see it. How many things in your life we cannot see because of the grid we currently hold? I had a fun experiential exercise to do, but I'm not going to use up the time. I think we need to keep moving. Cannot see. Have we got time? Okay, let's do an experiment quickly. Just trying to have a little think here how to do this. Okay, I want you to look around this room and just call out everything you see that is the color red. Just one at a time, We saw flag. Chill. What else? Communion glasses, fire extinguisher. What else is red? Flags, okay. Anything else red? Money box. I can see a red tail light of a car. More fire extinguishers. Now I want you to close your eyes for a second. Please all close your eyes. Okay, everyone's eyes closed. I want you to call out the things in the room that are green. Now that you know are there. Nice try. Okay, it's a little bit harder. Why couldn't you see the green things? Because you were looking for the red things. So subconsciously, you had seen everything that could have been green in this room, but I had told you, look for the red things. In the same way, our faith and view of Jesus is limited to that what we are looking for and what we hold currently in our grid. So there you have a resurrected Jesus, unthought of, unheard of, unexpected, walking with you on the road. I cannot recognize him because I can't see how this fits. Isn't that amazing? We don't have the grid. Sometimes we go through things in life that feel impossible to reconcile or integrate with our view of God. Have you had that feeling before? I cannot integrate this with my view of God. I just cannot do it. So Jesus' presence can be so hard to recognize as we walk along the road, and yet the story of God in Scripture is that he is completely always repeating, reorientating, reframing, reminding, revisiting, re-examining, that allows us to recognize Jesus in new and deeper ways, whatever the chapter of life we may be, wherever we are on the dusty road. Open the Scriptures. Your and my life will always happen within the orb of his great, grand story. And when we begin to re-examine it again and again and again, we find that our lives, with all of their chaos, with all of their disappointment, with all of their joys and successes and losses and failures, somehow within the grand story of God, our lives are inserted into that. And somehow because of that, you can begin to integrate all of those things into your story, and you can begin to recognize that Jesus is along the path with you through every single one of them, whatever that may be. So open the book. Open it every day. Open this book. It's not about the book. It's because the book tells the story of God. And because almost every single page points to this Jesus who is often unrecognized alongside us on the path. Pore over it. Read it. Prayerfully consider it. Study it. Don't ignore it. Please. Let the book and the story of God reinterpret your whole life in the context of his story. We're nearly there. These guys still okay? And as they approached the village to which they were going, something starts to happen in these two, which they later describe to the other guys as our hearts were kind of burning within us as he spoke. So they get to their destination and they strongly plead with Jesus to come and stay with them. They don't really know what's going on. They know something's going on. It hasn't caught up. Have you ever had that where something in your heart or your spirit, if you like, it's something's going on, but your head hasn't caught up? That's, I think, where these guys are at. At the start of the story, this is a cool thing I noticed. At the start of the story, Jesus just comes in and inserts himself into their story. But at this point, they invite him to their table. Something started to shift for them. Isn't that amazing? And when he was at the table with them, he took bread and gave thanks and broke it and began to give it to them. Oh, I think we've got some great bread here. Oh, guys, now we are talking. Now we're talking. Okay, this is cool. So this is a simple, this is quite a nice one, but this is a simple, basic food item, right? But imagine we are in the world of a first century Jew. And just like pretty much everything in the Hebrew world, it's got like these layers of meaning, you know. For us, it's bread, but for them, it's loaded, you know. There's something else going on here. So in bread, you have the daily sustenance, a core centerpiece of every meal, the source of most of the calories, a very, very important piece of the meal. You could not have a meal without bread. Every day, you needed bread. But a little deeper, bread symbolically is a reminder of God's presence and his provision. Remember, there was manna in the desert, a kind of bread. Remember the bread of the presence, 12 loaves at the altar all day, every day, representing 12 tribes, symbolizing that God's presence was always with his people. The bread of the presence. And then there was the reminder every time bread was broken that this wasn't just a casual throw the bread around. When you break bread, there's a relationship, a covenant being formed or reinforced. It's not casual, it's intimate. Something cool is going on. And then Jesus takes all of these meanings and more, and he begins to repurpose every symbol, every kind of shadow, everything pointing ahead, and he repurposes them and reorientates them all around himself so he can stand up and say, I am the bread of your life. I'm the bread of your life. I'm the sustenance of your life. I am God's presence in your life. I am all of it, the bread of life. Isn't that an amazing thought? I am your daily provision. I am your manna in the desert. Isn't that cool? So we are going to break bread like properly this morning. And maybe, Cans, you wouldn't mind playing the piano for us. And I've asked the team, obviously, if they wouldn't mind doing it a little bit differently. So you can begin to get the loaves out there, guys. Jesus was recognized by them as he broke the bread. Now, how did he recognize them? So in a moment, you can pass them down and don't be shy. Please don't. We don't need bread leftovers. This is not like nip and sip time. This is breaking bread. I want everybody to break some bread. But listen up, please, because this is important. How did they recognize him as he broke bread? I don't think we know exactly. I think it was just a supernatural revelation moment. There was a divine something. Scales fell off the eyes. Something was going on. But imagine sitting at that table that evening. The man who's been talking to you all day on the road, explaining the scriptures to the point where your hearts are burning. And then he takes a simple loaf. He gives thanks, saying probably the Hamotzi blessing, which is, "Blessed are you, our Lord, our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth." Then he breaks it in front of you. And then I imagine this. Have you ever seen those films where the last few scenes, it's like the lead character has the aha moment. And they play out all these scenes and it all begins to make sense. The dots begin to join. And in that moment, it's like for Cleopas and his companion, it's like the penny drops. The dots are joined. You can see the string of pearls. Now we see him. In that very moment, I love the fact that Jesus would have probably prayed that prayer, who brings forth bread from the earth. And in light of everything that they have heard from him, in light of how he has stewarded them along that road to that dining room table, and then they think, wow, there was a tomb in the earth that was empty, and now there's bread that's come out of the earth. And something in all of that, I think, would have just woken up in them, which is so beautiful and so powerful. And so they broke bread that night. And as we break bread this morning, I know that we've laughed and it's different and it's humorous in some ways. Let the presence of Jesus be your aha moment. Let the presence of Jesus be your aha moment. Let the Spirit open your and my eyes to see him as we break these loaves this morning. Because he is the manna in the desert. He is the bread of the presence. He is the bread of life. He is the fulfillment of the law and the prophets. He's the one who has come that was promised. He's the light of the world. He is our destiny. He is our destination. He is the risen Christ and church. He's the one who walks beside you on every dusty road. He's the one who invites you to lament fully and honestly. He's the one who opens the scriptures and reframes your story in light of his story. And he's at the table of your life every single day, revealing himself to you and to me. So as we break this bread and take this cup, just say, God, speak to me. Show me who you are. Show me what you're like. I want to see my story inserted into your story, and I want to see you as you are.
I don't want to rush us out of this moment. I just think it's so beautiful, and just as Nick shared that thing of like sacred scars. I don't know about you, but I actually started to think of scars that I have on my body, and I thought at the moment every single one of those things was painful, and yet most of them happened when I was actually doing something quite lovely, or like I was surfing, I cut my fingers, or I fell off a motorbike, I got bitten by a bug in the Congo that made this sore on me, and like all of these things that at that time they were wonderful, and then they got like poisoned by pain, you know. And it's funny because when I look at them now, I don't actually think of the horrible part of it. I don't remember like how sore it was when I slit this finger open. I just remember I remember that they had a fun surf, you know. And I just really felt like there's an opportunity this morning, and I know it's that's on our physical bodies, but we all know that that's the least of our concerns regarding our souls and our spirits. I just feel like there's such an opportunity this morning, and it is a little bit brave. But if you know there's something like you're like, I know that's like something. It's like just it's a little bit of a scar, or a little bit of a mark or blemish or something, and like it's not. I want to say it's almost like it's not yet entirely sacred. It hasn't been totally brought to redemption. I just to have the braveness to say, would you stand so that we can pray for you? And just for context, what I mean is like even just something for me, I was just thinking it's quite a powerful message for me. It's like today's Mother's Day, and I not so long ago lost my mom. It's like I can either let the goodness of God reframe that thing for me and say like, God, I don't want that. When I look back at the scar of that thing, I can look back at it in the enjoyment of my mom's life or a sense of loss, you know. And so if you know you need a reframing on anything this morning, that's something of a scar, won't you stand? And I'm going to ask those of you that are around people that are standing just to lay your hands on them and just pray blessing over them, because this thing of like when we break bread and God's just ability to transform the dusty road in our life is something that is so not worth missing.